There's just a touch, just a happy harbor touch.
We interrupt this program to bring you some important military news. When we first entered the war, Japanese intelligence was able to decipher every code we made. Consequently, they were able to predict our moves and foil our plans. Because they had an abundant supply of fluent English speakers, they could rearrange messages and send fake ones and commands. We were crippled. Obviously, we needed a better way to communicate. Philip Johnston, a resident of California and World War I veteran, introduced an innovation that would bring us to our incredible victory. He realized that the Navajo language would be perfect as an indecipherable code, considering that the Choctaws were used by the U.S. Army in World War I to encode messages. The son of a Protestant missionary, Philip grew up on a Navajo reservation and was one of the few outsiders that was fluent in the Navajo language. Because the language has no alphabet and is almost impossible to understand without early exposure, he accurately concluded that this could bring incredible momentum to the obstructed military. In his letter to Major Jones, he outlines 2 reasons that Navajo language is ideal for use in military operations. 1. It is an unwritten language and completely unintelligible to the ear of any person except a Navajo. And 2. It is a rich, fluent language, one that is capable of adaptation to specialized terms employed by the Army. After proving to commanders the efficiency and usefulness of this code by putting the Navajo under simulated combat situations, Johnston was given permission to start a Navajo Code Talker test program. Most of the first enlistees were young boys, but they easily adjusted to the rigors of basic training. However, once trained, the first 29 talkers were sent to Camp Pendleton in California to devise a code and a dictionary for military terms. Although some officers were initially skeptical, the talkers quickly proved their usefulness. Talkers could not write down their codes, so they had to quickly and accurately translate codes to save countless American lives. They relayed information on tactics, troop movements, orders, and other battlefield communications. The code remained indecipherable for a decade and completely confused Japanese forces. This code was most famous for its use in the Pacific from Guadalcanal to Okinawa. It allowed regiments of Marines to communicate efficiently and without risk or worry. It saved many lives and put success into our hands. Talkers participated in every attack carried out by the U.S. Marines, transmitted secret coded messages by telephone and radio. Talkers served in all 6 military divisions, which included Marine Raider battalions and Marine parachute units. The code talkers were vital in the taking of Iwo Jima. Major Howard Connor said, "Were it not for the Navajos, the Marines would never have taken Iwo Jima." During that time, in the first 48 hours, talkers coded approximately 800 transmissions accurately. Their services were vital for this pivotal victory. The code created was effective and clever. It started with around 200 terms and grew to 600 at the end of the war. Messages that would normally take coding machines a half an hour to decipher would only take these translators 20 seconds. The code has native terms associated with military language and other terms that represent letters of the alphabet. Sometimes, the terms would resemble the items they were connected to. For example, the Navajo word for tortoise, chaidahagi, meant tank. Sometimes it was more literal, for beshlo, which is iron fish, meant submarine. Other times it would be more metaphorical, such as in ni hema, which is our mother, meaning our glorious homeland, America. Navajo has no script, and its grammar is extremely complicated. According to one estimate, less than 30 non-Navajos spoke the language before the war began. None of them were Japanese. By the end of the war, the U.S. military had about 420 code talkers amongst their ranks. Currently, the code talkers have all taken an oath of secrecy in regards to their heroic, patriotic service to this incredible nation. Eventually, as time passes and adapts to the changing world, these noble men will be able to confess their wondrous well-doings. One day, they could quite possibly receive recognition from the President himself. One day, these brave men could be honored next to war heroes Sidney Godley and Theodore Wright that served our country honorably some 30 years ago. One day, families will be able to proudly hold photos of their family members and say, "He was a Navajo code talker." Although we may have more advanced coding systems in the future, the Navajo's coding system is what got us to this point in history, and their coding system will significantly influence future coding systems and communications. We must never forget these soldiers' tremendous contributions to ensure the security of our country, for what they did was vital to our victory, and without them, we may never have won the war. Without them, the Japanese may have won and turned each and every one of us into their own personal slaves.